Hey friends, in this video, we're going to be dividing decimals using partial quotients. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to label my equation so I know what it is that my equation is asking me to do. So in my equation, 6 and 38/100 divided by 2, I know that 6 and 38/100 is my total. I know when I have a division problem, I always start with a total, and then I'm going to be dividing up that total. I'm going to be cutting it. I'm going to be splitting it. I'm going to be separating it. In this problem, I'm separating it into two. Two what? Two groups. That 2 tells me how many groups I need to put my total into. So, because I'm separating it into groups, my answer will be found within each group. My answer is going to tell me groups of what? I have groups of what? 2 groups of what? That's what it's going to tell me. So now that I know what it is the problem is asking me to do, I can now solve the problem following my steps. So the very first thing that it tells me to do is set up the problem like normal, like a normal standard algorithm problem. So I've got my divisor and my dividend set up. The second thing that it asks me to do is it asks me to hop out the decimal. I want to ignore the decimal. I want to pretend that it's not there. So I'm just going to hop it out. And so now I see that I have the problem 638 divided by 2. Next, I'm just going to solve it like I would any normal standard algorithm problem. So I'm going to ask myself, how many times can 2 go into that 6 right there? Well, I know that it can go into it 3 times because 3 times 2 is 6. And then I'm going to add those 2 zeros. So this is really a 300. I'm going to subtract it out, and I'm going to get 38 left. Now I'm going to ask myself, how many times can 2 go into 3? And it can go into it 1 time. 1 times 2 is 2, but that's really 20. So this is really a 10. Subtract it out, and we have an 18 left over. How many times can 2 go into 18? It can go into 18 9 times, and 18 divided by, 18 minus 18 gives me a 0. So I'm going to add it up like I do with every other partial quotients problem to 319. The last thing I need to do is hop the decimal back in. If I took 2 hops out, I need to take 2 hops back in. 1, 2. And so my answer to 6 and 38/100 divided by 2 is 3 and 19/100. And then, of course, I do want to check that with multiplication to make sure that I did it correct. 3 and 19/100 times 2. 2 times 9 is 18. 1, 8. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. And I had 2 hops to get that decimal out, so I need 2 hops to get that decimal in. And when I compare my answer to my dividend, I see that it is the same answer. So 3 and 19/100 is correct. So there you go. That's using partial quotients to divide a decimal when I know the groups and I'm looking for groups of. Hope this helps.